Hey folks, there's a massive blind spot when people start an MSP and it's not technology. This applies to whether you're thinking about starting, you've already started, or you've been running an MSP for a few years already. Now, I know this because I've lived it. I've started an MSP myself, and over the years, I've worked with a lot of MSPs at different stages in the game. Most people begin with a strong technical skill set, and they assume that's the hard part. But there's another skill the business quietly depends on, and if it's missing, everything feels much harder than it should. Growth stalls, leads are inconsistent, and decisions feel stressful. And then people start questioning whether they've made the right move. In my own case, missing the skill nearly killed my business, not because I was bad at IT, but because I didn't know what I didn't know. If you're in any of those stages right now, this is worth paying attention to because once you see this blind spot, you can't unsee it. Okay. So I'll cover this. We've got 3 points we're going to cover in this video. I call it the MSP blind spot. And the first one, I'm going to just detail my story here, what happened to me. So I was working for an MSP. I was a senior systems engineer. This is going back to 2012. And I got to a certain point in my technical career where I decided I needed a change. I looked around the room and I saw the older guys that were in that technical role. I can't do this forever. So I put the tools down, put the suit jacket on, and I became basically a salesperson for an MSP. I did that for a couple of years and I was quietly stacking up some cash on the side. And I spoke to the business owner at the time and I said, hey, can I get a stake in this MSP? Because I was bringing in a lot of businesses or bringing them new customers. And I felt this would be a really good time to kind of build for my future. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I decided I'm going to just start up my own MSP. So that cash that I'd been saving up, put it to good use. And I handed in my notice. This was back in August 2016. And I created IT Rockstars. I thought, hey, I'm going to go and become an MSP. Now, had this technical ability already. I'd been doing the technical role since 2005. So it was like over 10 years I was in a technical position. So I thought, there's no reason why I can't do this. And I'd already done the sales side for a couple of years. I had some experience of bringing in the sales. But what I quickly found out within 6 months of running my own MSP, first thing that I realized was that it's a lot of hard work. So I really feel for anyone that does run an MSP. I know how much hard work's involved. I've seen MSPs grow in size. I know the volume of work that's involved. But the biggest thing for me and the hardest lesson that I had to learn was that it wasn't about my technical capability. It wasn't about the skills that I already had. I had on the job when I was working for this previous MSP, I developed some sales skills. I'd been doing it for 2 years, but I wouldn't say they were great. Okay. I was basically flying on the heels of the MSP at the time, their brand name in the local marketplace. And because I had a team behind me, I had that confidence to go out there and sell, and I had that brand name. When I started my own MSP, that completely changed. The confidence in me evaporated, and I didn't have those referrals coming in at the same degree. And within 6 months, I gave it up. I actually pivoted to helping MSPs solve the one problem that most of them have. Get into that a little bit later. The skill that I really I lack this skill now. That's why I do marketing for MSPs is sales. So that is the big skill that I have a gap in. Okay. So if you are thinking about becoming an MSP, or maybe you already are an MSP, you need to develop that skill. You need to develop the skill of being able to sell. And there's a few things within this. So like when I was doing the sales role, it was easy for me to sell when I was in front of people that were looking for IT. It was a much more different story when I'm actually looking for people that were looking for IT, getting their needs met, and they had problems with their technology. And I put this together for you, this little infographic. This is how it works. So how do you develop the skill? Because the truth is, without these 3 items that you see here on the screen, you don't have a business, and you never will have a business, because you need all of these 3 to have a business. Sure, you might be slightly good at the sales like I was, but if you actually want to become proficient in it and get multiple sales, so you're bringing on 1 or 2 clients every single month, you're going to need a lease. Now, we look at the orange here, the delivery, 99% of us, we know we can do that. That's the easy bit. But the leads is actually the most difficult. And it certainly was for me. That's the bit that I help with in my business, is that green area, the big question mark area. Sales is sales. So the question then becomes, is leads, how do we get more of them? What tactics can I use? If you follow any of my content here on IT Rockstars, or if you're a member of my free group, you can see it in the link below, you realize that this chart is actually wrong. That green circle, it shouldn't say leads. It should say something else. And I'll ask you this question. How have you gotten your customers today if you have an MSP and you're doing business right now? The majority of your customers, if you were to look at them and figure out where did they come from? Was it through marketing? Was it through SEO? Was it through social media? 9 times out of 10, when I ask that question of MSPs that I speak to, the answer is usually through relationships. It's through people they already know in business, through their business network, it's through their friends, their family, or it's through a referral, an existing customer. That's how most of them get their leads and those sales appointments in the diary. So the green here, it shouldn't really say leads. It should say relationship. So what you really need to do in your business is you need to scale up the relationship making process so that you have more opportunities, more of those sales opportunities, so that you can refine that sales skill. And if you don't have either of those two, as I say, you're missing a big piece of the puzzle. Anyway, hopefully the blindfold is now off, and I would love to help you in this area. You can find out more on the link below. And I would love to hear your feedback on this. Like, where are you in your business? What have you tried? How did you develop that sales skill? Because certainly for me, and I know for a lot of you guys out there, it doesn't come naturally. Anyway, see you in the next video. Catch you later.